Hey, church, we're looking at the second half of Luke chapter 10 and into chapter 11. And we are finally up to where our sermon series is. And so there's a lot of content in here that I don't necessarily need to get into because our sermons have recently covered things like the parable of the Good Samaritan and the story of Mary and Martha and even the Lord's Prayer. But what I want to focus on is actually at the end of our reading where Jesus is talking about a lamp and what is coming from within that lamp. And Jesus says that essentially, if our whole body is full of light and no part darkness, that light will shine out of us. So, what does that mean to be someone who are shining lights to those around us, filling ourselves with that which is good and healthy and godly? So that's what we portray to the world. Well, it's pretty simple if you've been paying attention to this reading, right? You go through the parable of the Good Samaritan. What's that about? Well, that's really about loving your enemy and extending kindness to those who are unlike you. It's about Mary and Martha. It's about not just being busy for Jesus, but being someone who is with Jesus. And finally, it's about being someone who is a person of prayer, who seeks God regularly, shamelessly, and constantly. And so if we want to be people who demonstrate God's light to the world, this is what it looks like. Doing the hard things, like loving our enemy. Being people who remain with Jesus. People who are dependent on God in prayer. And when we have those things as inputs into our life, those things will then reflect back out to the world. That's essentially what Jesus is talking about. That which goes into us is that which comes out of us. So the question for us today, in this shorter little vignette, is what are the things that are you putting into your own soul? Are you putting in things that are good and generous and godly? Are you putting in things that reflect your love of God that then will sort of reflect out to the world around you? Or are you putting in other things? Things that aren't good or healthy, or things that don't really fill you, things that give you more anxiety or dread or stress. And if that's the case, well, that's what will reflect back out to the world. So the challenge for you and I today, I think, is to take some time to think about what's going into us and spend and change some habits, maybe, if need be, to focus on how we can reflect those things back out to the world. See you later.